Hello and welcome to another episode of Scavenger Life. This is episode 365 at scavengerlife.com.
Ryan, I want to be the first one to wish you a happy birthday today.
Thank you. Today's my birthday.
Yep. We are both Geminis.
Super Gemini house.
I don't believe in any of that stuff, but I guess people identify.
Our birthdays are close together.
Yep.
Yeah. Am I saying how old I am? I'm 39. Because you said you were 45, so...
Yep. I think that's
39.
Fine. Good.
I feel very old.
Don't be afraid of your age. Think of everything that you've done.
Yeah.
Since I met you when you were 24. Wow.
Yeah, that's a long time ago.
We've done a lot.
Crazy.
And you actually spent... So this, we really haven't spent that much time apart since we've been together. And I was gone for 2 nights. And then you were gone for 2 nights.
I was gone for 3 nights.
3 nights in New York.
Yeah, so it was funny when Jay was like, "Oh, I'm going away for a couple nights on this little retreat center thing." I was like, "I want to go away. I want to do something cool." And my brother and his wife are having a baby next week.
Is it actually that soon?
It's the first week of. It's July 2nd.
Wow.
So it's super 2 weeks,
2
right?
weeks, yeah.
That's when the baby's due, supposedly. But so she was having she's also has her birthday around now, in a couple days. So she had a birthday party baby shower thing. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to go to that.
Yep. And we have a couple of friends there who have apartments, and one was out of town, so it was perfect. Got a free place. So
perfect.
You hung out with
my sister.
Your younger sister.
My sister came from Boston. So I was it was family week. It was from Wednesday to Saturday. So it was middle of the week. Nobody has regular jobs. It doesn't matter. Yep. We all have weird schedules.
Took the train up there.
Took the train up. Had a free place to stay.
Yep.
You could not... The weather was beautiful, perfect.
She cut...
My sister gave me a haircut that I didn't have to pay for.
It looks awesome.
It looks so cute.
It looks like a amazing... fashion haircut.
Wow. I'll have to tell her that. Yeah. So yeah, it was fun. I think what's fun about that is anytime something like that comes up where someone's like, hey, this thing is happening in the middle of the week and it's next week and it's in New York City, and you're like, I can't go to that. And then I kind of looked at my schedule I was like, I can go to that and I want to and I'm going to. Yep. So I did. That's kind of, and same with you. You were like, I'm going to go away for a full weekend because everything's fine without me for 2 nights.
Exactly.
It's not a big deal.
That's why we have our life.
That's why we have this life.
While you were gone, I actually went to an auction. I've been really itching to go to an auction, and sometimes it's hard for us because a lot of our auctions we have to drive a bit, kind of plan. It takes a full day. And I went, and it was really great. I've only been to a couple auctions alone.
Yeah. But
I really enjoy it. I like when you're there. I really do. But I feel like I can be in more of a shark mode when I'm there by myself.
Oh, yeah. For me, well, you were funny. You said, I had a really good time at the auction. And I was like, because I wasn't there. No, and I don't mean that. Because I'm just I just get stressed and I'm like, I don't want to spend money.
I feel like you get stressed and I feel like you get tired out.
I get tired.
You get bored. Because, auctions are really about...
Endurance. It's all about endurance.
I didn't stay... this is the kind of auction that starts at 10 and
goes till 6 at night?
8 o'clock at night. What? So I left at about 4. But
still 4 is a long time.
But the later stuff is the kind of antique-y stuff that's fancier. I didn't want that. Anyway, so the reason why I enjoyed is... You can go to an auction and really not say a word to anybody.
You don't have to. You just
get a number.
Yep.
So I wrote down, I walked through, I wrote down everything I wanted.
Yeah, which is very smart.
And I always ask if I don't know what order they're going in, and someone will tell you the lines of stuff they go in. And then I would just go and stand by my box and wait till they got to me. And when they start, I point to that box. I don't even say a word.
You say this one.
The bidding starts. I just nod. Now I'm that guy. I just nod my head. You just lock eyes, nod my head. Yeah. I want everything I wanted.
You want everything you wanted. And the great thing is, you honestly didn't pay up for that. Because a lot of times, if you're like, I'm getting this thing, and this other person's not. the price just goes up.
I don't know how it is in other places. You know, these are the box lots,
yeah.
where, you know, you buy like a box of lots. And, you know, like $20 is a lot of money to pay for these things.
Right, like that's high for a box lot.
Are fighting at $5 and $6, and you know, if something goes for $40,
you're
it's
like,
a lot.
What? Yeah.
So, you know, I paid a couple $25 for some boxes, but it was good. I had a good time, and then I knew it's what I wanted, and so I knew where my next one was going to be. So I had time to get the box I wanted, walk it out to my truck.
That's good.
Put it in the truck, and
you can be. The thing that I hate about auctions is when you're buying stuff like this place is a warehouse. So you're buying stuff all over the floor and you just keep going and you're like, which boxes are mine? So it's good to be able to grab the box, put it in the truck, come back, do your thing.
But, you know, because I'm there and it's myself and I'm just kind of like watching people, I realized like I'm now one of these. I mean, we're these people. I mean, this is my full-time life, you know, being a scavenger. And, you know, I got to like watch everyone. People are like really shy, but there's like a lot of regulars who know each other and they talk to each other. But like if you talk to somebody, people are really kind of shy. But, you know, it's a country auction too. It's just country people, you know. And there was a time when I knew that I had like a half hour between when my next box would come up. They had like a lunch counter.
Oh, they have a great lunch counter.
I had like a full meal, like really good, like vegetarian, like and like a quiche. And I sat down and I just ate. I
can't believe they had quiche. That's so
cup of coffee. I did talk. A guy sat down and he was like an older guy, and he had on a hat of a flea market, and it turns out he runs that flea market. And I always like to ask people where they buy. You know, what they do, and it's just cool talking to a guy like that. I mean, he's like...
So he runs a flea market, so he sells the auction stuff at the flea market.
So he says every day he goes to an auction. He's the guy that buys it when no one wants everything.
He'll buy anything, yeah. He's like, that stuff for $1, I'll get it, yeah.
And he's like a pre-internet scavenger, you know? And then he probably has like a big store somewhere that he just sells, and he just loved it. I mean, he sat down and like inhaled his food in 3 seconds,
and then like
ran back. But he loved it.
So he sold at the flea market, or he has a store?
He has a flea market.
Okay.
It's like he runs. I don't know. Flea market's not probably a good word. You know, a flea market can be like a big football field where people park. He owns like a how it is, a store that has like an open air. Tables that he sells in, and probably that kind of place.
Mm-hmm. That's funny.
And then and then I had time I just sat in a chair and drank coffee and just watched everyone, and and there's just like this constant, like that's why auctioneers are so good, is they're just like the steady stream of like blah 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 blah, and it's just like this really, it's monotonous. Mm-hmm. It's almost like Tibetan chanting.
It's kind of like that.
It's just like like it doesn't stop. And it's funny, there's like the lady that only buys Christmas stuff. Like it's like the middle of summertime and she's buying boxes of Christmas stuff.
And trust me, there's plenty of Christmas stuff at those auctions.
And there's always the guy, because it's almost always a man, who's like the silver bug. Right. He's like going through, and he's got a magnifying glass, and he's looking...
And gold.
Yeah.
But it's mostly silver.
Yeah, and he's picking up all the silverware, even in the junky stuff.
He wants that sterling.
He's hoping someone missed it, and he's being really obvious. And I don't know why those guys... I think the reason why those guys bug me is because it doesn't take a lot of imagination. Like, he's like, if it says a silver, I'm buying it, and that's it. And I get it, and it's fine. It's just like he's passing up everything else.
It's just a different
925. It must be 925, and that's it.
It's just a different thing.
We've seen this a lot too. There's always like a youngerish couple who seem to have invested heavily into the idea of being a scavenger, a seller,
or whatever.
Like, they're younger, they're really motivated. This one couple, and they had a big truck, like an F-250 truck. Yeah. Like, it looked new, with a big trailer behind it. They were buying everything. And they had, like, I don't think these people were over 30. I don't know. They looked really young, and they had like 6 kids. all very close to each other's age, and it's just like that's a whole thing going on right there,
right? There's a whole story behind
and
it,
I don't know what they do
doing.
with that stuff. It's amazing. Then where we are, where this auction is, there's a lot of it's Mennonites,
right?
Who are not Amish.
They're not Amish, but
you would think that they
first
look like
glance, if you don't know, they look Amish.
And it's mainly the women that come, and they're in handmade clothes,
handmade dresses only.
But then they, and they have the head covering, the little bonnet, and then they wear like Walmart white sneakers.
That's what's so funny to me is like when I picture them, because I think their clothes are mostly handmade, although a lot of the younger Mennonites I see wearing clothes from the store, but just like similar style.
But just
like
kind
a
of
long
plain.
Dress, yeah.
But, and they're mainly like buying like cookware and like plastic
house
housingware.
Yeah, housewares.
And this auction especially, because it's in the middle of the day, so who comes to auctions in the middle of the day? A lot of old people. Like half of it, 60% of the auction are people like over 70.
Yeah.
And I'll watch them, and they're basically buying stuff from their childhood, and they would talk about it to their friends, patterns, like ceramic patterns, and just toys and books. And
I mean, those are people who buy stuff from us on eBay too. Nostalgia.
And then there's the guys who buy like glassware and like china. And I mean, there's honestly there's always like one guy, and he's an older gay man,
Yeah.
He's buying that stuff.
Yes.
But at the same time...
Well, does he have a shop? Do you think he has a shop where he's putting, like, crystal goblets in?
I think people are buying it to collect. But then there'll be other guys around him. Like, one guy, he looked like a welder. Like, big fat gut, bushy hair, like, arms like Popeye. He knew all about all this glassware. He was collecting it just as much as the other guy, and they would talk about the patterns and stuff,
It's so interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like... You could just go to an auction for fun just to watch people.
Yeah.
You're buying stuff, sure, but you're
that's why I like to go
out.
to auction, and it's just and so I really came away like, wow, this feels good. Then the next day, you were still gone, so I got to do the things I want to do. I went to a flea market.
That's early.
On a Saturday.
How early did you get there? Because you gotta kind of get there
here
early.
At 7,
Yeah, okay, you got there at like 8-ish.
So relatively early, but it was still early. And this is the kind of flea market that I love, where it's just an empty field.
Yeah.
People pull up. There's like a wooden table, or people are just selling it out of the back of their car. It's what I love. It's not. It's like an antique mall.
Oh no,
or whatever.
it's very junky.
It was actually really depressing. Normally really it's like this flea market, but I don't know if it's just my perception or a mood I was in.
Yeah.
It just kind of reminded me of like, man, I'm these people too, and this is like kind of the edge of society, Yeah. These are the people who are like, this is their thing, like it's a cash business.
Yep.
Got $100, go to an auction, get a carload of junk, sell it in the back of the parking lot, and hope that you make $200, and that gets you through the week. People's bodies are like falling apart.
I mean, there's a lot of people like
just
that there.
Smoking and just
smoking. A lot of smoking.
Just people look bad, and just and that day just seemed like everything was just like Walmart junk, just literally junk,
Walmart junk.
Nothing I wanted.
Well, what's funny is you showed me everything from the auction. And I was like, didn't you go to the flea market? You're like, I got 2 things at the flea market.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, and normally, and again, sometimes I go to the flea market and I love it. Again, it just, but it is interesting, and it's the different ways that you can look at this world, and
right,
and it's a tough world, I'm like, people
it is tough.
Are working and doing their thing, but I had a lot of fun.
Yeah. Oh, you had fun while I was gone?
Yep.
That's so nice.
So, you were, funny enough, you came up with a new logo for our store.
So, I was listing a bunch of stuff before I left. It was random electronics from that basement clean out, right? And I just was like, I hope someone buys this stuff.
Yep.
And then I thought about it. I'm like, why am I thinking that now when I pretty much think that every single time I list an item.
Yeah, I thought that would be a funny logo to put on
Because
our
that
store
basically
page.
is what you're doing, right?
Like our store name, and then just like,
Hope someone buys this.
I hope you buy this. I hope you buy this? Like a question mark, please.
Because isn't that true for every single item you list on eBay?
But that's,
I hope someone buys this.
But that's the feeling that you can have with a long tail store. And,
Yes.
and when we say a long tail, we mean items that are just kind of weird and quirky and old, that are not, there aren't a million people that want these items.
There could be 2 people looking for this item.
Right. You know, collectibles, that kind of stuff. I mean, that's a feeling. And it's kind of like when I went to the auction versus going to a flea market. Sometimes I can go to these things, or we put something up online and you're really excited about it.
Yeah.
And then sometimes you're just like, is this even worth it?
Like, what is this?
Who wants this? Like, what is this for?
But I will say this. The reason you don't go into a deep, dark hole thinking about that and listing things like that is that in the past, you have sold that stuff. And you're like,
Right.
someone bought this crazy weird thing.
Well, the other thing is this. So somebody left, they asked us a question. This was a couple of weeks ago. And they said, basically, I'm just paraphrasing. They said, aren't you a failure, or isn't your business a failure because you're not making more money
Year after year.
a year after year? You know, that your business isn't
Grow
like a business should, you know? And so I was like, that's interesting. So let's compare our income for the last 4 years, or actually more than that. Because I can go back on our blog, because we've been posting our numbers. So 2013, we had just started.
And we hadn't
June
started
2013. We didn't keep our numbers, so I couldn't figure out our numbers in. June 2014, we had 3,300 items. And in that week that I chose,
right,
we made $1,385.
$1,300.
In June 2015, we had 3,900 items, and we made $2,500 that week.
I would love to see that week what the high selling item was. It seems like there was a fat high
I tried to find the exact same a week,
time.
But that a year I did go the week before and the week after, and we actually made quite a bit. Like we did well. I don't know why. 2016, we had also 3,900 items. We made $400 that week.
I do want to say, so that's obviously
$446.
But that was the year we were doing Amazon all summer.
Right.
I remember that was the year.
That was also the year, I think, when eBay got the smackdown.
On
I don't
Google.
know.
Yep.
But anyway, and I looked at the weeks before and after, and they had also been $600.
Oh my God.
So June 2017, we had 5,700 items, and we made $1,600.
Right.
And, you know, if you notice, we went from like 3,900 to 5,700 items, so almost 2,000 more items.
We had hired a helper.
That's the year we hired a helper.
The fall before.
I did not know that we really bulked up that much.
I remember listing, and in like when she was here and being like, I just listed 200 things like in a week. You know, like
right.
That's a lot.
Because she worked full time for the whole summertime, and we got through all of our.
Got through so much stuff.
And then June 2018, which is now, we have 6,600 items, and we made about $1,600. So, you know what? It's interesting. That person is correct. Who was asking, like, are we a failure, or do we feel bad that our business isn't becoming bigger and bigger every year? Like, our inventory is growing, but our income is not growing.
That's interesting. Yeah.
The answer is, you know, or I guess the question is, why aren't we making more every year with, you know, double the amount of items?
Right.
And here's my thing. I think really you have to ask what your goals are, you know, and it's reality. If you have a long tail store where you're just selling weird items, you cannot cry about not having quick sales.
Yeah.
It's just the nature of the beast.
Right.
I mean, we have a large inventory because we know that things are just going to take a long time to sell. And for us, it doesn't matter what sells on any day, as long as we make a certain amount of money every week.
Yeah.
That's $1,000 for us, you know?
Right.
And for us, we've learned a long time ago, it's not about lowering the price to compete because these items just don't have a lot of buyers,
competition.
period.
Yeah, there's not. And also, a lot of times you're listing it and you're like, there are 2 other of these up.
Right. Like some hand-carved vintage antique bowl that I would assume would hold like peanuts or something. Like,
yeah, you're like...
that's just not going to sell very quickly.
Right.
But someone will eventually buy it for like $40.
Right.
If I lower the price to $5, it's not going to sell it any faster,
right, it might
because
not.
I still have to wait for that person to come.
Looking for
and
that
then I'm
special
waiting,
thing.
and when that person comes, then he'll get it for $5 instead of $40. You know, there's sometimes buyers are just in. These are the kind of buyers, what they're looking for are good photos of a quality item.
Right, of
it's
course.
not necessarily like they need to get it for $5.
Right.
It's got to match the vision in their head of
Right.
what they want, you know. Now, someone on the blog gave a really good explanation of why the bigger your long tail store becomes, the why you don't sell
like it doesn't...
it's more stuff, because over time the really long tail items start piling up, you know?
Right.
So if we put up 100 items on eBay,
Yeah.
sometimes, there are things that sell right away.
Yeah.
There are things that sell it's within a couple of months.
Right.
And then there are those things
That
that
you're
are
like,
just like...
literally 2 people are going to find this and want it.
People call them dogs, like it's like junky stuff. And
Yeah.
those are the things where people are like, just get those out of it at your store. But for us, we've learned like, with an Anchor subscription, we can list 10,000 items for $300 a month. So an item costs 3 cents to keep up. That's 36 cents a year. If something takes 5 years to sell, you're still only paying under $2 to keep that item up on eBay. So just keep it up, and that's eventually always sells.
And you'll sell something and be like, oh, like you said, oh, that sold for $40.
Yeah.
Someone finally found it, and that's great.
So I'll make this real quick. I mean, so our goal is not to keep raising our money every year.
It'd be cool to do that.
It'd be cool if it would, but we would have
That's a different strategy.
We would have to totally change our buying strategy.
Yeah.
It's like when I went to go and buy that stuff at the auction.
Yeah.
I'm going there. I have no idea what they're
What
gonna
could
have.
be there?
They got pictures online of just boxes of junk. I'm like, I don't know what's there. And then I'm just buying. I'm making decisions on the fly.
Yeah.
I'm buying stuff.
Yeah.
I'm going by my gut.
Right.
I'm like, that will sell. I don't know how long it will take. And that's scavenging.
Yeah.
That's so much different if we ran like an Amazon business.
Right.
Or a Walmart business. I call it a Walmart business. That's the kind of business where you go and you buy from wholesalers, and you're like, I'm going to spend $5,000 on like a bunch of widgets, and I'll sell them over a month period of time, and I'll make a penny on each one. It's such a different kind of business.
Right.
For us, the goal is not necessarily we need to make more. Our goal is that we pay our monthly bills. That includes our mortgages.
Yep.
It pays for the renovations on our rental businesses,
Right.
which it does. It's like our cash.
That's your cash flow. Yeah.
It's like our ATM.
Yeah.
And then the rentals we have, that's generating the cash for all of our long term.
Yeah.
Right? It's money. I mean, basically, what we've created is a steady state eBay business. It kind of just like hums along,
Yeah, it hums along. I mean, you put the work into it. Like, you noticed our stuff that needs to get listed soon is getting low, and you're like, we actually do have to go to an auction because I need to get a bunch of stuff,
Right.
to be putting up. And like you said, it doesn't cost that much either. It's not like you're going to an auction spending $5,000. I think you spent $300 and got a ton of cool stuff.
But it's also a steady state in the sense of, we've talked about this. Like, we could stop putting anything up on eBay for a couple months, and we would be making the same amount of money we have now.
Right. And that's what we want, because if there are times where like we're doing something else for a couple months, it's like, okay,
Right.
just let that go along. Stuff is still selling every day. It goes up and down. Sometimes it's slow, sometimes it's not.
Tell me if this is true. do you think that over time the stress level of our eBay business has gone down because we've built a good foundation, with like a helper and storage?
Yes,
and
absolutely. 100%.
I think
100%. Especially because of those two main things. Having helpers, because sometimes having helpers is a little stressful because you're like, oh, they're not going fast enough, or they made this mistake and I didn't catch it, blah, blah, blah. But they get so much work done that sometimes I can't keep up with them, you know? I'm like, a couple people noticed that like there were like 10 things that got listed out of scheduled. And it was like, everything's $5,000. And people are like, what is this? I'm like, oh yeah, I totally missed that. So
this is the point I'm going to blow your mind, all right?
Yes. Oh boy.
And I'm going to end it with this. So if we wanted to make more money on eBay, it would mean that we would probably have a lot more stress and problems, because it would mean that we would have to be specifically trying to buy certain kinds of inventory, going through our old inventory, changing prices, I don't know. It'd just be a lot more problems. But our steady state eBay business means we generate kind of an expected amount of money that covers all of our expenses. And then what it's done is it's helped us build up a whole other business, our rental business. And that's the thing that's doubled our income.
Right.
So instead of trying to double our income on eBay,
right.
which I'm not sure would even be possible with the kind of business we have, we've just done it in a different way.
We just like pushed it over there and like brought that up. Yeah.
So
you really blew my mind there. No, but it's true. It's true. Well, no. Okay. So, right. So what you try to do is instead of like just cranking on this one business, and to me that equals burnout, where you're like, I can't handle, like I can handle 2 people super part-time, and like, we have our storage building in back, which was expensive, but I absolutely could not love it more. And you're like, okay, this is handleable. And we slowly evolve, too. That is something that we learn works for us. Instead of being like, let's hire 10 people, let's go rent a warehouse. Like, we're just like, I don't want to do that. That's not something I want to think about. I want to slowly be like, we might hire someone. Okay, we did. Okay, it's working. Okay, let's hire someone else. like...
And tell me if I'm wrong here. We evolve. The reason why we evolve is not so much because we're trying to make more money on eBay. It's to make it easier for us.
Yeah, it takes the burden off us some.
Right.
So that you can do other things. Right. So that you can have other businesses or other things happening that are also making you money, but you can like focus on those. Okay, I don't have to list on eBay 12 hours a week because my helper's doing that.
Right.
And so she's going to do that, and I'll take a look at it later, and I text her, and we work it out,
So I just wanted to bring this up because I find that in the reselling community, there seems to be this, or I don't know, if people want to make businesses that are making millions of dollars, that's cool. Like, that's a goal. But I guess I'm putting a vote out there for people that are just trying to make a business, that are trying to crank out a certain amount of cash with as a little stress as possible, with a lot of fun in there, going to auctions and flea markets and learning about things. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. And if your business isn't growing year after year, you're not doing anything wrong. Call it a steady state business. Right. That's what we have.
Right.
And we love it.
And it just, to me, I think, and we emphasize this all the time, and someone kind of made a joke or a question on the YouTube channel a couple of months ago, because we always say we want to own our time, and someone literally was like, what does that mean? Like, I don't understand what you're saying. And you're like, I own my time because I decide what I do every day.
When you do it.
Yeah. When I do it. I went to New York for 3 nights on a whim because I wanted to, and I had time.
I didn't have to ask permission from anyone.
I didn't have to get vacation or sick days, like whatever. And we always say, well, that comes without a safety net. Like, people who have jobs who are like, oh, can I take a couple personal days, whatever? Yeah, they get a paycheck every week. Sometimes they get benefits. I get that. We don't have that. But at the same time, I'm like, yawn, what should I do today?
Yep.
We work our butts off. I've been working all morning, but,
Yep.
It's just that, like, the goal is obviously money, but the other goal that's like equal to money is like personal freedom.
Right. Well, and also
personal
for us,
time freedom.
And I'll end on this is
Yeah.
just like, for us, it's money is only important in the sense that it can buy time for us.
Right.
You know, and that's why I say I like our steady state eBay business, where if we could make more money on eBay, but it means I would have a less control of my time, I would not like that.
I wouldn't do it.
I would not like that at all. I would rather make the money we make now with the amount of time we have, you know.
So I think people don't understand when we say that our time is important to us,
right.
and our mental state of, you know, life
right.
is equally as important as like me making money and
right.
like having money.
Yep.
And I don't think everybody's like that. Right. I think people are like, what? I went to an office all day and I got paid. It's great.
Yep.
And I'm like, I can't.
And just to be clear, those numbers I gave out were like the numbers in this month of June throughout the past 5 years.
And June is notoriously slow.
Is historically yes. one of the slowest months around. Yes. So, but those numbers are still good for us. You know, I could redo this, you know, in November, December, and those numbers would be double, you know. So,
right.
You know, that's the business.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about a little bit of eBay. We had some listings that were $5,000, Ryan.
And I got plenty of messages from people, even strangers. I think it was like people who don't even like watch our store. So what happens is I schedule, and actually the reason they're $5,000 or $1,000 or whatever is that I have my helpers set that to be the price in case I miss a beat and stuff gets automatically scheduled. And I don't have time to go in and correctly price things. You know, it would be stupid if they were like, everything's $10. Well, if it gets listed by accident and something that's worth $100 got sold for $10, that's a bad thing. So I just priced it really high. About 10 things got listed the day I was leaving for New York. So I had missed that the day before. Like, oh, I got to list these 10 things.
And people were like, why is this thing worth $5,000?
There were two things. People were like, why is this t-shirt $5,000? And I said, look, it's a mistake. I listed it by accident. I'm fixing it. And then we had people watching our store saying, I think your scheduled listings got scheduled by accident. So people are obviously listening to the podcast. But what was great was it was just a handful, and my train was delayed up to New York. So I just sat on my computer and went through, it was like 10 to 15 listings. And I was just like, boom, 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 fixed. Cool. I didn't have to end them. I didn't have to do anything. It was like 8 o'clock in the morning. I was just like, da-da-da-da, done. But that's kind of my theory there is like, list it really high in case by accident. People do that.
Fail safe.
It is a fail safe because I missed those. I was like, oh yeah, June 13th. No, that's right now. We often see that on completed listings when you look at some commodity items and it's like a set of batteries for $900 and you're like, why? Because they're out of stock and they don't want to end the listing.
Because they want to keep all their watchers.
They want to keep the watchers, they want to keep their ranking, blah, blah, blah. So they say, oh, $900. Right. Probably no one's going to buy that for $900. If they do, they're crazy. But so that's why sometimes you'll see on completed listings weird things at like crazy high prices. Yep. So I'm kind of using that same technique.
Somebody messaged me, and we've talked about this a little bit on the forum, about eBay now has these Amazon-like pages for some items.
Right.
I guess this is what they mean by structured data.
Okay.
Where, and I'll put a link on the blog about this, so it'll be like an eBay page for like a book.
Right.
And the title of the book and the date. And then it'll be like Amazon, where someone has the buy box. I'm sure eBay doesn't call it that.
Right.
And then it has like, and then there's 20 other people who are selling it used, and this is
different
good shape.
Conditions, yeah.
And someone was like messaging me like, should we be worried about this? Like, how do I get the buy box and blah blah blah? And I'm just like, I don't know. And I just wonder. I don't know how they could do structured data for the kind of stuff that we sell, like a nut bowl. I mean, you know, like I feel like that would only work on books, on commodity items, things that have like a RFID barcode.
Oh, like you know, UPC, but
right.
Yeah, so the hard thing about that is just like you said, where even if you have a unique item that a lot of people have, like a Pyrex bowl in this pattern. Okay, there's like millions of those things, right? But you're like, I have very specific photos that need to be shown. Right. There's a little mark here. This is that. Well,
that's why I feel like, Amazon doesn't really do vintage stuff.
Because of that reason.
Because you can't all share the same photo.
I mean, books, a lot of times with books on eBay, like you say, if you put the ISBN in, a lot of times it'll bring up a catalog image and they're like, do you want to use this image? And most of the time I say no, because I'm like, I want to show exactly what mine looks like and the condition.
I wonder if you say okay, if then they put a listing under this, like...
It's a good question.
Group. Yeah. So anyway, I'd love to hear what people think about that. Are they worried about it?
I do want to say this about the Amazon type pages for commodity items, and I think this is part of why eBay's doing it. If you're buying stuff on eBay and you're buying a commodity item, like a shower curtain or a clamp for a light, and you're just like, I need a 3-inch clamp for this blah, blah, blah thing. You get so many listings. There are like 5,000 listings, and you're like, okay.
And they're all
the same picture, and they're all from China, and they're different sellers.
Right. And some people are like, it's $1 free shipping. Some people are like, 50 cents, but 50 cents to ship. And they're playing those games.
The other thing that drives me crazy when I'm looking for very specific LED lights, right? You're like, it's this very specific lamp that I bought, and I want an LED light. They'll do this thing where they're like, okay, what's the lowest price for this light? Well, they have 7 variations on the wattage and the size and the color. And you're like, how do I go through when they said, oh, the one that's out of stock is 99 cents, but the one you want is $8, but it's the same listing? Like, I think it's stuff like that eBay's trying to be like, and there's 5,000 of them.
Yeah.
That's what they're like, I want you to buy that special LED bulb on eBay, not Amazon. And they need to clean that stuff up.
See, I feel like a lot of things that eBay is doing, I know I've been I've kind of been it's grumpy about eBay with all these changes. I feel like a lot of the changes might be aimed more at those commodity people.
But they affect everyone on eBay.
Because, and really, we love to think that we are eBay, us weirdo people.
Right.
We're such a small part of eBay that they're really trying to change all of that. And then we're just kind of being sucked into it a little bit.
I agree with that.
Okay, Bonanza. Did we delete our store?
I need to check, but I tried.
Okay.
I don't know if it takes like 48 hours to delete your store, but Did I talk about why I was deleting it?
Yep.
Yeah, so Bonanza was showing my scheduled listings, just like I was talking about with eBay, before they were even scheduled or prices changed on eBay, and they would permanently stay at $5,000. I was getting all these messages, how dare you charge $5,000? I'm like, it's not supposed to be $5,000. Look, it's on eBay, it's $40.
Right.
Either buy it on eBay or I can't fix it on Bonanza unless I manually fix 1,000 listings. Yep. I wrote to Bonanza, I was like, can we please fix this? And they're like, oh yeah. So every time you do a new set of listings, which is sometimes every single day, you have to go and manually resync your store. No.
Yep.
I don't have time for that. The whole point of Bonanza is that it syncs itself. So I was like, okay, well, I'm deleting my store.
Yep.
This is not worth one sale a month, maybe.
And honestly, it seems like it's only really good around Christmas time, and even with a big store like us.
My stuff's on eBay, so I'm trying to delete my Bonanza store, which is unfortunate, because I didn't want to do that, but I'm going to.
Etsy.
Yes.
The big news.
Yes, this is a big thing.
On our forum was Etsy is raising their prices to 5 cents. I mean, to 5%.
So everybody loved that Etsy was 3.5%.
Right.
Final value fee.
Of every sale. And now they're doing 5%, and that will also apply to the shipping too.
So they're doing what eBay does, final value on shipping. It is still less than eBay.
Because
but
eBay
buyers are
9%
on shipping and 12% final value fee, depending on the category. Right. So Etsy sellers are like, what?
Well, I mean, it's still cheaper, but Etsy is a publicly traded company, and I would expect
just like eBay.
fees to go up more. They're also going to do a monthly subscription fee for some people. I guess they'll get more services for their fees or something, or like they can personalize a URL or something. Okay. I don't know.
I didn't read exactly.
We don't sell on Etsy, so I don't really know how it's going to affect people. I just wonder if current people that sell on Etsy, if this starts to change their equation, since Etsy's always been cheaper to sell on, but they have much fewer eyeballs, and I really don't see a lot of a volume of sales, that people on eBay get. So, it'd be interesting. For me, the good news is that if Etsy is now charging more, doing subscriptions, and if they really start to make a super positive experience for the person who sells, then maybe that might be a good example for eBay of how to show how to treat a seller.
I have no idea, because the article that was sent around that quoted Maria and Ryan from Passport Vintage, who we've interviewed here before, their perspective was like not happy with it. Well, clearly because they're sellers there, but they're like, look, this is eating into our business.
Well, they had a very interesting reason for it. They're like, Etsy's fine, but it's just a platform.
Right. It's a shopping cart.
They're like, we're the ones that are bringing people to our store.
To Etsy.
Because we do Instagram and all the social media. And Etsy is just like our shopping cart.
It's like a shopping cart. It's like Shopify.
Cart.
Right.
So we aren't looking to Etsy to like bring us people.
Right.
Just make the experience good.
And now for us, for eBay, we are looking for them to bring those people to us. We don't do social media. Right. We don't want to. And eBay... I mean, those are the higher fees, right? It's less work for us, and eBay brings the people,
Exactly.
I would like them to bring more people, but still,
Evolution!
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about our numbers. You guys already know we sold 40 items for $1,646. Pretty good week. We like $1,000 bucks.
Most of those things right now.
Slow summertime. We're doing
$1,600. Yep.
In our second store, we sold 2 items for $120.
One of which is getting returned.
Yeah. We will see. I don't know. Okay, things we sold. The thing that saved our butt was we sold a necklace for $400.
That did save our butt. And I was very happy with that sale.
How much did we buy a necklace for?
$125.
Okay.
People are like, what did you just say?
Right.
It was at like a specialty boutique thing. It was like a discontinued designer.
Right.
Special. And I was like, I'll try to sell that for $500. I've had it for years. Yeah. It sold for $400 though. So happy.
So not bad.
It's a gorgeous necklace too. I also sold a wallet for $100. It was new in box. Toomey wallet. It's high-end leather. Someone was buying it for Father's Day. Yeah, they liked it. They gave me positive feedback. I love selling a wallet that I probably bought for $4 for $100. Another good sale was Jay, the last time we were in New York City, had bought these nice kind of designer-ish leather sneakers for $25.
I bought them to wear. And then I was like,
these are a little bit
sold for $75.
$75. Okay, that's good. Another thing, when we were in Copenhagen, we went to this little flea market thing.
Wasn't that fun?
Yeah, it was cute. I liked that.
Like we were just walking around town.
Yeah, it was cool.
Ran into just like a little neighborhood flea market.
Yeah. And so Jay bought this little wooden mid-century cigarette case.
For $5.
Yeah, it was $5, and we sold it for $55.
Yep, $55. That
was a good sale.
So it wasn't great, but I always think of if I buy this for $5 and sell it for $50,
it paid for our day of hanging out there.
Just pay for our day.
Yeah. We probably didn't even spend $50 that day, but still, you're we're having fun. We're
scavenging, traveling. Ryan, we are living.
We are living.
That's what it's about. Not just having a store. It's about living our lives.
That's what the whole opening was about.
We sold a sailing flag, just like a little tiny flag.
It was what do you call it? A pennant flag shape.
We sold it for $25. It sold for $50. We just found it in one of those thrift stores where they have those bins and they're just blankets,
scarves and
It's just like the place that no one goes to. I always love to go in there, and we found this old flag.
It was this old sailing flag that had this weird name on it. It was some nautical thing. I think it was made out of wool too. So you're like, this thing's definitely vintage. I sold it for $50 to someone in Norway.
Wow.
Perfect.
Wow.
Yeah, I love that. I love a sale like that.
And that's the kind of thing where if we made that flag, it doesn't have a brand on it. It doesn't have it's just you're trying to describe it the best you can. Blue, white, seagull.
It's got a seagull. It's got some symbol. It's vintage.
If we made that thing $5, it would not sell any faster.
Right.
And you're just waiting for the guy who's in Norway one evening drinking a glass of wine, and he's like, I would love some kind of nautical thing in my room right now. And he's looking up at his wall and looking at photos on the internet.
He's like, that's the one.
He sees our photo. He looks at the empty space on his wall. And he's like, that's what I want.
And
I'll pay $50 plus probably another $50
to ship it to Norway.
And so it's not about money. It's about just that weird...
Right.
What do you call it? When just things just kind of happen.
Like a serendipity.
Synchronicity. Serendipity.
Yeah, okay. So, a similar sale, a framed print that I don't think you remember this, found in the garbage.
I don't remember that.
I found this in the garbage at an auction.
Wow.
When you go outside and people just put stuff by the dumpster and they're like, I don't want this junk.
Yep.
I was like, this print, it was a little bit faded, but it was very nicely framed.
Right.
It was professionally framed with a mat. I'm like, this is well done, and it's an interesting piece of artwork. It was a print of a Polish-American painter, mid-century painter, and I'm like, this is cool. I'm going to bring it home. Even if I sell it for $25, I found it in the trash. I actually researched it. I put it up for $100 because it's actually kind of a rare print of this guy, which is so funny that someone threw it away. They're like, it's garbage. And this guy in France kept messaging me, I'll give you $75. I'll give you less. I'll give you $50. Blah, blah, blah. I was like, okay, I'll take $75. Guy in France bought it. And I packaged it up.
Nice.
So, it's funny what you can find in the trash sometimes.
It's awesome.
Yeah, it's a good sale.
Customer issues,
returns.
Not really, just one big one. Like Orion said, we sold a planer, a Stanley
wood planer, hand planer.
We don't know a lot about these things, so we just do the best we can. Some guy made us an offer, we took it, he gets it. He says there's a piece that's broken.
It doesn't look broken to me,
I'm
but...
like, show me a picture. He shows me a picture of something. I don't know if it's broken. And basically, he's like, I don't know. This is where it's kind of ego. He's kind of doing it in a way that bugs me, and he's basically wanting me to pay him.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, you know what?
Send it back.
Full a refund. We're going to lose money on the shipping, but I'm just like, I'd rather just... I don't know. It's kind of an ego thing.
It's one of those things where you're it just depends on how someone's talking to you, and you're like...
Yeah. So I don't want him to be unhappy. Send it back. I'll take it. You get all your money.
And we'll relist it properly, and hopefully we sell it again.
Exactly. Okay, things we learned in the forum. So someone started a good thread. All the boneheaded
mistakes that scavengers can make.
Right.
Which is hilarious because I read them and I'm like, yep, I've done that. Yep, I always do that.
Buying wool shirts and sweaters and blankets.
And not looking for holes.
And realizing there's, all those, ties that with look great. Stains. And then they have little stains and they're, whatever. Or a zipper.
Zippers. I have a shirt sitting in my office that I'm like, should I sell this? The zipper's broken.
You find this great thing, it looks great, and then you try and zip it up, and
the zipper's broken. Oh, that's the worst. But you know what? I can't tell you how many things I've sold with broken zippers that people are like, I'll just fix that.
Yep.
Or I'll just wear it without the zipper on.
Electrical stuff, like not plugging it in, testing it out.
But it's great when you make those mistakes, because a lot of times you don't make them again. You're like, I gotta check for this on this X item.
Yeah. But, people were saying, the more experienced scavengers, they're like, I have a kit that I carry with me everywhere. It's got an 8-track in there.
Right.
It's got a reel-to-reel tape.
Right.
It's got a cassette
Because
tape.
you got to test it,
It's
right?
got a Polaroid.
I used to have
film.
a Polaroid
So
film
anything
tester.
that you're into, you
Just
always
keep it in
carry
your
that stuff.
in your car or something. Like a lot of times, I would keep Polaroid film battery packs in the car. So if I'm like, I actually do want to test this, if it's
For a while too, when we were into Bakelite,
I would keep
It's like, what is it? Some kind of
semi-chrome.
Like cream?
It's called semi-chrome cream, and it's to polish metal, but
Right.
it reacts to Bakelite. I used to carry it in my purse with me. Now I just buy stuff because it's cheap enough, and if it's not Bakelite, I'll sell it anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, like there's certain, if you're into specialty things, you should carry a kit, like a testing kit, and it's like those guys that you can't stand, the silver hounds.
Right.
They've got their jeweler's loop magnifying glass
And they'll even
in
have
their pocket all the
it's
time.
like a little scale.
They have the
They'll have
scale,
electronic scale,
a
and they'll
pocket
put it
scale.
there, and they do the silver's this much, and
Yep.
blah blah blah.
And rightfully so, because they don't want to overpay for
Look,
metal.
It's all good. I'm just like, oh, it's like
Yeah.
it's so obvious. It's just
But
like
also, who cares? Like,
I know.
Yeah,
I care.
I know you do.
Okay, and we talked about this with clothes. We go to a thrift store, we load up the cool stuff we want, and then we go to a corner
And we look through it.
and we look through it together.
You always say, just help me look at this to make sure there's no
Because
holes.
I get excited about something,
Yeah.
and I don't.
And me too.
I want to see a problem,
Right.
and I need you to,
Yeah.
to be like the cold judgment
and,
of reality,
and vice versa. I'll be like, look at all this cool stuff, and you're like, oh, really? That's garbage.
Yeah.
Although most of the time you don't say that. You're like, get it.
On the forum, we want to say congrats to Aperture.
Aperture.
I think his real name's Daniel,
Okay.
but he came on and did a post where he's retiring really soon at 55
Yay!
with a huge savings account. And
That's early retirement, baby.
he says he's not a big eBay person. Like he's got
Not
a
a big
small
eBay
store.
seller,
He
yeah.
enjoys it, and he says he thinks he'll keep doing it even after he's done with his full-time job. But it's more about just celebrating someone where him and his wife have really had like a long-range plan. They got
Yes.
kids. They've paid off their house.
They were thrifty.
Yeah, they have 401k. They've saved money. They've
So smart.
it's just so smart. All just been from being a thrifty. And on that thread, it even started with about the cars that people have. Like he says that where everyone else he works with, I think he's an engineer. So
Okay.
more like
It's a little higher end.
a well-paid
Yeah.
guys with his Mercedes and BMWs, which everyone's allowed to have. He said he would just have his old beater car. And
still
people are
works.
like, "Oh, look at your beater car," but he's like, "I'm done." Those guys, and it's probably true, will have to work another 5 to 10 more
To 15 more years.
because they're always trading in for
Yep.
a new
Because
car.
they're not saving their money. Yeah, exactly.
Good thing about and that's a whole thing. Being a thrifty, running a good business, so you can own your time. Get out early.
Being frugal.
Frugal.
Not cheap.
Right.
Frugal.
Frugal, not treat.
Exactly. Okay, Jay. What did you cook this week while
This
I was
is
away?
okay. I can't believe people care about this. Okay, what did I cook this week? I've been big on oatmeal.
That is so funny to
I've
me.
been eating a lot of oatmeal, and I mix it up with fruit
That is
and
the nerdiest
peanuts because we have peanuts
Nuts,
that
yeah.
no one
Nuts are good.
peanuts that no one
eat
seems
the
to
nuts.
eat. So
No,
I'm like, I'm
do.
gonna eat this, and then I put in some cream, and it's just like a
You
delicious. It's like a porridge.
It literally is porridge. I'll tell you one thing that I cooked to bring on the train because I'm trying to eat ketogenic, super low carb, no sugar. I made little chocolates out of dark baker's chocolate with no sugar in it. And I put stevia in it. A lot of people don't like stevia. It tastes weird, but it's sweet. So liquid stevia and nuts. Hello, I am eating the nuts. I just put them in the little silicone
I think you're
things.
eating like 2 nuts. You're
I
eating like
literally
2
put
nuts
2
at a
nuts in
time.
there.
Handfuls.
So I could make little nut clusters. So yeah, so I mixed up the chocolate, the dark baker's chocolate with no sugar, with stevia and butter and nuts. So they're like little fat bombs, but they're like chocolate. So I brought those on, and my sister ate some of them. She's like, "These are really good." I'm like,
yeah.
yeah, I made them myself in the microwave. So yeah,
Cool.
What will our coming week be like? Okay, I have 25 things to pack.
All right.
So that's happening.
Yep.
My mom's coming to visit.
Yeah, I was gonna say, that's a big thing.
I went to New York for 3 days to hang out with my family, and now the other half of my family is coming to my house.
Yeah.
So I still think I'm going to get work done because I absolutely have to while they're here.
Like I said on the other podcast, where I really like it's your mom. She's become my mom. She's like
your mom.
Unlike and I like that I had that relationship with her. Unlike I hear some men like talking about.
Oh, my mother-in-law.
Yeah. I like when your mom comes.
Yeah.
I enjoy hanging out. I think I like being around her more than you like being around her.
Yeah, because you've had a separation of 40 years. Like you weren't raised by her. That's the difference. I love you, Mom. I know you're not listening to this. Okay, let's get questions. You can call our voicemail line at 540-407-8486. You can always leave a message, 3 minutes. You can also email us a question that you record on your phone. Will probably sound a lot better.
Hi there. This is Derek. Probably Derek on the forums. I just wanted to give you a call about something on the podcast last week about gaming auctions and how somebody said that they had live game auctions at Gen Con and at Origins. I happen to be a gamer. I've been to both of these conventions. So what ends up happening is there is misinformation on the Gen Con auction in that you do have to be there to turn in your games. They do not accept mail order games. And the game auction at Origins has been canceled as of about 2 years ago. So I just wanted to provide a quick update. So it is a good place to turn in your games. However, like the commission is considerably more than eBay. I believe it's about 15 or 20%, and it costs you $2 per item just to register it in the auction. So unless you have something that's very rare or something that's going to bring in a lot of money, it might not be the best place for it, especially if you're not just in town going to the convention anyway. All right, have a good one, everybody. Bye.
So yeah, thanks for calling in. We don't know about gaming conventions, but I think just to broaden the topic, people are like, well, don't sell it on eBay, sell it at this specific auction, or sell it here, or sell it there, because you'll find the very specific people that buy this stuff. That may be true, but we just find but if you put it on eBay, then you reach everybody. All those gaming nerds probably
that aren't going to the convention, that don't live in that area.
They probably eventually go on eBay anyway. And also, when you sell at any kind of auction, they normally charge 20%-ish.
Right.
So that's actually more than eBay.
Yeah. So it's cool. It is cool to think about those gaming conventions, but you're like, I don't have anything that's so specialized that needs to be going there. Like those gaming nerds who love the games, they're shopping on eBay, for sure.
Yep.
Hey, this is Kurt Daniel from New Mexico, and I was calling because I had a question, or I guess wonder what you guys thought about VeROs. For some reason, I feel like when you get a VeRO, it's so vague, it's really hard to tell what's going to get you a VeRO, what's not going to get you a VeRO. My most recent one was I listed a hat, a vintage Porsche hat, the car company. And then, a couple hours later, I get an email that I got the VeRO, that I got the trademark violation or whatever it is. And I feel like I list so many different things. I have over 2,000 listings, and I just can't tell what's going to give me a VeRO, what's not. And I'm afraid of listing so many things. I actually have a huge pile of things I think that quite possibly might give me a VeRO. I just went away with all high-end purses. I just don't sell them anymore. I just said, forget that. I don't want to get them. Some other brands, I know Velcro will get you a VeRO. I think American Eagle, Rockstar, just different brands that I know of. But there's just so many brands out there, and I'm just wondering, how can I possibly know? And I've heard that if you get 3 VeROs or 3 trademark infringement warnings or whatever they call them, marks against your eBay, that they'll close you out for sure. And I heard that from a eBay rep saying if you get 3, they will ban you from eBay for life. And I feel like, and I said, is this a lifetime thing or is this in a year? And he said that you get 3 in your entire lifetime. So you guys have been selling forever. So I'm wondering how have you not gotten 3 just with random ones? I know a friend of mine, he got one for the word Velcro, one for some other little thing, and now it's like I'm scared to death that I'm going to get my 3rd one, and I'm going to have to shut down my eBay store just because of VeRO's. And I'm wondering if you or if anyone thinks that eBay is eventually going to figure out something where you can get more, because obviously I don't think a lot of people are just selling fake items and fake things on eBay, but rather they're just doing, trademark infringements and getting those write-ups. And 3 in the entire lifetime of you being on eBay is not very many at all. And I watch very carefully what I list, and then that Porsche got me, and I'm like, man, I tried so hard not to get any. I don't do Coach, I don't do Kate Spade, I don't do anything like that. So I'm just curious to what you guys think about that. Thanks.
So this question goes down to the very core of my soul with eBay.
Yep.
I so love this question because we actually got a couple of VeROs this past week, and he's absolutely right. eBay was like, we took this thing down, and you just got a VeRO, and that's it. It doesn't say what company does it. I mean,
so here's what actually happened. They sent me a message that this certain phrase, it was called Butterbell, is a copywritten phrase that you cannot use. So I changed my listing to not have those words. It's like a butter container that I have. And then I changed it. And then 2 weeks later, I got a VeRO and they shut it down. I was like, I changed it. So it didn't have that listing. So I actually have to call and be like, I mean, exactly what he's saying. You're like, what? Why did this happen?
They don't give you any link talk to this company to complain or call up eBay
or
and be like
relist it properly without such and such. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's really
or it's actually a real authentic Porsche hat.
Right. So why am I not allowed to sell
I'm allowed
this?
to resell it.
I hear you. It's such a pain. And what's sure.
And the whole thing is, it's just eBay protecting themselves because they don't want the companies suing them for selling counterfeit objects. So they've done this thing where they will take down a listing that they're asked to,
right?
So they don't get in trouble, and
they don't want to deal with it. They're like, whatever, we took it down.
People have talked about it on the forums that at these companies they probably hire interns and they're just hang it on the internet and just flag anything that you see on eBay, and that's why it comes in waves,
Because there's no special thing for companies to do. You just go through the prompts of reporting this item, and one of them is copyright infringement, and you say, this is a VeRO violation.
Yeah.
I actually had to do that with someone who was using all my photos for an item. Some person in India had stole my photos, so I had to file a VeRO to be like, these are my photos. Look, here's the original item. It's mine. You can see my kitchen in the background.
Yeah.
So it's not hard for companies to do that, and they do it all the time. And it's really annoying. I agree.
I mean, but to be clear though, as annoying as it is, you got to take them very seriously.
Because if you get enough of those,
a VeRO claim is basically like a counterfeit claim,
right? For
the most part, or a trademark claim. And if you get too many of those, eBay will bring you down.
Exactly.
Will suspend you.
Super annoying.
So real quick, how are we gonna deal with it? You're gonna call and be like, "Why?"
I'm gonna call Anchor support and be like, I fixed it so it didn't use that copyrighted name, which I didn't even know was a thing. So why did you turn my... They told me to change the title,
right?
Which I did.
And you did, right.
And then they shut it down.
So you're just going to call and
what do I do? How do I relist this item?
Right.
What do I call it?
In the past, if we get that claim, we just often will take it down and
get rid of it.
You're
like, yeah, fine.
It's not worth it.
I mean, it's nothing. It's usually nothing high priced, thankfully.
Hey, Jane Ryan. This is Britt from Indianapolis replying to the podcast. So, eBay and USPS do not use that tracking number from that program, but you can include the buyer's email for that tracking to get an update on where the letter or package is located at. Each time that it's scanned, it'll send you an update. It can be a little annoying at times, but I find it a bit of a process to fuse or get the buyer's email from eBay or PayPal. So usually I'll just keep it as a record and have the tracking sent to me anyway. So if there is an issue, I can always just contact the buyer. Plus, I also have a record of that I did send it and that where that letter or package is located at. The big reason why I use it really is to keep from getting scammed from any potential scammers. Say that they didn't get their package. But anyway, I'll send you a letter, and you can see the tracking itself, and just let me know if you guys got it. Love the show. Take care.
Okay, this is for you because you're the...
Okay, so a couple of things. Number one, I have no idea how this person got our home address to send us a letter, but he did. So, yes, Brett did send me the tracking through my email. I did get updates like every day or so saying, this is on its way, this got scanned here. When we got the letter, because it's like a first-class envelope, I didn't see any tracking on it. So how is that company getting that information?
Right. I mean, if the post office isn't involved in this process where they're not scanning it or it's not going through a computer,
not like a barcode thing
that's doing it. Yeah. How does a company track the item?
I have no idea how they do that. I would love to know how did that happen?
Right.
I have no idea.
Now, when you looked at their tracking they sent you, did it show you, like, okay, it's here, and then it's here, and then it's here? Or did it just say it left a Brett's house, and then that's it? Like, that's not really tracking.
Well, it said this should be delivered on X date.
Okay, but that's not really giving you much info. I mean, anyone could do that, like...
Estimated delivery June 15th, left Indiana.
But that's all it is. I mean, that's
pretty much. I don't see a tracking number.
But that's not really. But that's not really telling you. That's not telling you its progress throughout. You know, like the whole point is it gets lost, and then you can track it through that.
Let me click through and just see. Okay, so here's what it shows on the. So I click through on the email to see. You know, scanned in Indiana, tells me when it got scanned, in transit to destination post office, scanned at our sort facility, which is in Richmond. Also says again it got scanned in Richmond, but there's actually out for delivery 6:15.
Okay. So this
doesn't say it got delivered.
So this country's called. I mean, this company's called
LetterTrackPro.com.
And how much does it cost to do this?
I think I have to look. I think he said that for like 20 numbers or something, it's like $3. Like, it's so cheap. It's like cents.
And so this is supposed to solve the problem of people that sell postcards
or ephemera in like a little envelope. So they don't have to
spend $270, right? Or
I guess $266. Mm-hmm. I guess I just don't understand how it works.
Right, like,
how does that happen?
Like, is a post office scanning that for this company? Or I wonder if it's like, it's one of those things where the post office thinks it's their own barcode, so they're doing it. So this company is like tricking the scanners.
Okay. So when I looked at the address label, there is a barcode under the address label. But how does the company get that information from the post office? Mm. The post office could scan it, but how does LetterTrack Pro get the post office to be like, oh, we scanned this?
Well, so let's say this. So, you know, they have all these computers, like it goes on this belt, and everything's just being scanned automatically. Right. And you can buy from the post office a thing.
Right.
Maybe it just... Do they just print the same exact kind of barcode, and then when it scans it, it goes into a USPS computer? Like, it's tricking them to think that it's a USPS.
It can't. It can't be that.
And then maybe this company has paid to have access, because I mean, I guess that access can be probably bought, like access to like barcodes or something. I don't know.
I have like all the things you're saying.
Yeah.
I'm like, it can't be that.
This is super nerdy. If someone knows how it works.
I want to like contact the company and be like, how are you doing this?
Yeah.
It's like outside tracking, but it's using the post office technology.
Because why would the post office allow that? Because they're undercutting the post office's costs, you know? So
because if you want tracking, you got to pay for it.
Right.
Yeah.
So anyway.
I have no idea. Okay, but I did get tracking updates all week for that letter.
If someone knows, please call in.
Hi, guys. This is Paul from Ohio. Love your podcast. I've been listening to it for a couple months now. I've been a member on eBay since 2004, but I've just recently started selling a lot in the last year and just opened my store last week called Real Cool Surplus. And I just had a question for you. Do you guys use any apps concerning inventory, how to keep track of inventory, or what do you do for keeping track of inventory? I do a couple things, just kind of scratch it on paper or keep a little small spreadsheet of my own, but I didn't know if you kept an app or had any good apps that really kept track of inventory pretty good. And just recently started with GoDaddy, and that works really good for the bookkeeping side, and I just was checking on the other part. Thanks, guys. Have a great day. Bye.
So this is a good question, and this is a common one for anyone that's kind of just starting and to build a business on eBay. There's no way to really keep track of inventory, and like COGS, cost of goods sold. You know, how do you tell
you have to do
what
it
gets sold? And unfortunately, the answer is you have to do it in a manual way. There are some Excel sheets that you can buy, but they're often PC based, unfortunately. So if you have a Mac, it doesn't work.
Well, spreadsheets can work on both, but there are some software things. No, you're right. There is a software. I think our friend Vic had one. He's like, it's PC only.
It's like someone's taken it and they've done all the calculations.
All the calculations.
Anyway, yeah, I mean, really, that's all we do is, we just have an Excel sheet. We just kind of keep track of it.
It's so, yeah.
And that's good enough for the IRS, just as long as they see that you're keeping track of your inventory,
Right.
Yeah.
Right, exactly.
And really, it's not that big of a deal, especially if you have like 300 items, 500 items, even 1,000 items. You're only dealing with 20 or 30 things at a time, so it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah, we're not experts, but we do the best we can is basically the answer.
Right.
Hello, this is Brian. I wanted to ask you a question about free returns. I know you guys said last week that you've only had a couple of free returns since you turned that on. But I also remembered when you guys first turned it on that you talked about adding a $1 handling fee, and you didn't mention that, and I haven't mentioned that since. So I wondered if you still have that handling fee on, and if you got any blowback from customers on that. And, it sounds like if you do have that $1 handling fee, you're coming out pretty far ahead, given that you've only had a couple of free returns. So just wanted a little follow-up on that. Thanks. Talk to you guys later. Bye.
It's a question. We do. We absolutely still have that $1 handling fee.
Yeah, we put
I mean, basically it's like this. So eBay is expecting buyers, a seller like us, to take on a certain amount of risk. I mean, like when we turned on free, it returns, we don't know if we're going to get 20 returns, if we're going to get 5 returns like this planer that someone's going to send back.
This thing's heavy.
It's going to cost
10 pounds.
$15,
right.
So basically we have to hedge our bets. So we put the $1 handling fee. I mean, we haven't had anyone say anything. Because I don't even think that the buyers even see that.
They don't see that handling.
They just see what the shipping cost is. Right. And maybe if us and someone else in the same town sold the same exact item, their shipping would be $1 cheaper than ours. But for the most part, it all just kind of gets absorbed.
I do want to mention this. When you get a free return, like a t-shirt or whatever, anything, eBay does give them that handling fee back.
Yep.
So if the return price was $18.99, well, you're giving them $19.99 back. So you give them that handling fee back.
So actually,
just so you know,
we haven't. So we'll probably come out ahead this month, so far. Although the month isn't over, because we haven't had a rush of returns. But again, it's a hedge. And again, I think it's kind of crappy that we have to have all of our buyers subsidize
the few buyers that return stuff for free.
And that's really a function of eBay. I mean, they're wanting us to do this, to offer this a service. Someone has to pay for it, and it's just like anything.
Yeah.
That price gets put on to the customer, you know?
And if I turn free returns off, which I've kind of been talking about, I would take that handling fee.
Yeah, I mean, we would, because we wouldn't need to hedge our bets anymore. But,
yeah, I would.
You know, the only reason why we're trying it is because, you know, number one, eBay says, like, it's good for business. I mean,
right,
okay,
right.
Like, you know, they're our partner. Let's try it. I mean, and my thing is, so are you going to put me higher in the ranking?
Yeah,
are you going to put, like,
a
little search a button so people can...
They do.
Okay, you know, like, so are we going to get... It's more sales because of that? Like,
does it feel like there's more sales? Not really.
If it doesn't work, yeah, we'll just
turn
take
it off. Because, you know, what's annoying is when someone buys a t-shirt, they say it doesn't fit, and then I have to pay for the return.
Yeah.
Like, really?
I just get bummed out when eBay wants us to do these things that cost us as a seller money, and they don't take any hit, you know?
Right.
That's the thing I don't like.
Well,
like,
they're saying you'll get more sales. And
right, but that doesn't...
That's
I mean, they don't have any skin in the game. They're like, yeah, just ship for free. Why not? I'm like, well, are
like,
you going to help me pay for that? Like,
right.
you know.
No, I hear you. Okay, that's it. You can check out our blog at scavengerlife.com for the links we discuss and to join the conversation on the forums. You can leave a question or a comment on our voicemail line. The phone number is 540-407-8486. We post an episode every Monday morning. On Wednesday, we post a What Sells video. Currently being brought to you by Stephen Schultz and his doggies and cute cat. You can subscribe to us through iTunes or YouTube so you always get the latest episode. We're ending this podcast in 3, 2, 1. Bye.